Where are we? Oh, there we go. Okay, folks, you should be seeing my screen. We're a little early, so I'll just set up the screen as a background. And there we go. So you can probably see and hear me. There's a little thumbnail, but in fact, I'm going to walk. I'll turn my video off for a minute and then turn it back on. Hi everybody, Dr. Keith, just put my headset on. I'll switch my video on in a minute. Thanks for coming. Yeah, hi John, hi Rob. Let me just put my video on too. There, hi everybody. Few minutes to go.
Yep, we'll be here. We'll be ready to go on time.
Yeah, well, stay on now. Don't go off, Sonny.
Yeah.
A couple of minutes to go. Okay, so we've got several dozen people already, and it's not even time yet. Okay, well, I think I said in my emails, I know you folks who are coming on board, that I'm in France. It's middle of the night. And I feel like I've been to a party, actually. I haven't drunk a thing. But you know that drag yourself out of bed in the middle of the night feeling. It's probably a worse feeling than having a hangover, actually. But anyway, I'm getting up to speed gradually, and it's a new life I'm going to have to learn. I'm here in France for a while, certainly many weeks. It's not just COVID. There are other reasons here. Travel is difficult, but it's not that difficult. My lovely Vivian flew home a few days ago, and she didn't meet any trouble at all. When you listen to the hysterics, we're going to lock you up or you go to jail, all these kind of things. Nobody bothers to check your papers. When I came here a few weeks ago, just before Christmas, you had to have a COVID test and this and an attestation, and nobody asked to see them. I could have come in without a COVID test because nobody cared. And that applied to England because I went via Heathrow and then flew on to Paris, and the same thing happened in Paris. Nobody gave a damn. So I don't know what it is, whether nobody really believes the official story or whether the staff are just getting blasé and don't care anymore. I don't know what it is. But, travel is not nearly as difficult as we're made to think. And I'm glad of it because, Viv and I, for example, would miss it horribly. We love traveling. And it's one of the great reliefs in life to be able to move around and do things. And of course, they're threatening to try and crush that. I wonder why. Well, one a cynical answer is because people love it and want to do it. And therefore, if we're going to spoil things and make it unpleasant for people, we've got to stop them moving about. They've already stopped us hugging and kissing. You know what the French are like, I don't know about the French Canadians, John. Are they the same? Are they kissy people?
Well, I kind of like what the French are doing in France, so I kind of emulate that. That's my excuse. Anyway.
Right. I remember living in Quebec and it being the same thing. Kissy.
Yeah. Well, of course, now it's keep back. This is not France. Yeah. I've said several times in the last few weeks, this isn't France. There's no restaurants open. There's no bars. You can't go and sit and have a glass of champagne in public. It's not France. Anyway, whatever. You have to believe that we'll see our way out of this sooner or later. Sorry, John, what?
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year it'll be back to normal.
Well,
hoping. I mean, we talk sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah, we talked about back to normal, but my saying, being normal is the kiss of death. So I'm very glad to not be a normal person or a normal doctor. Yeah. Anyway, so it's coming up to the top of the hour, and hello everybody. Thanks for coming. I will explain myself because it may be relevant. If you catch me snoring on a later slide, it's because this is the middle of the night where I am. I'm in northwest France. This huge library of books you see behind me actually is just wallpaper. Looks good though, doesn't it? Looks very intellectual. It's got to go. It's dark and dark brown and old-fashioned. I'm in a beautiful old 16th century watermill. I mean, it doesn't have a water wheel anymore, but the river outside, you can almost hear it from where I'm sitting. And, you know, even though Vivi's at home in Las Vegas in the warm and the sunshine, I could be walking around in shorts and a t-shirt. Instead, I've got 10 layers of jumpers here. And it rained today like a monsoon, honestly. And I've seen a monsoon. I lived in Sri Lanka for a while. But it has its compensations. You know, we have deer wandering around the property, koi pews, red squirrels, which I love. And oh yeah, wild boar, you know. Now I've got, I think, to get myself a license to kill the boar and have at least one a year. I'm not a violent man. I've never killed anything with a gun before, but listen, I'm prepared to make exceptions. Wild boar tastes delicious. If you've ever had wild boar rigatoni in Siena or Rome, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's fabulous and tastes a lot better than mere pig. Anyway, enough preliminaries. We're here to talk about medicine and healing. And today we've got a slightly different setup. As you can see, Lorraine has not undergone a sex change operation. That's her son Rob on the left. Lorraine is not feeling good. Well, she's feeling better now, but she thought she'd bow out. It happens. Even the greatest of healers do have occasional bouts, maybe once a year, getting hit by something. Anyway, she's not with us, so we make do with Rob, and Rob is not as good looking, but he's very smart.
Yeah, I'll make up for it, I promise.
And John, as always. Okay, so we're going to be talking about microcurrent therapy. We're going to not make any assumptions because I know there are new people on the call, as well as probably some people have seen it all. But it's nice to have you back because it's really a very, very fascinating science and subject, isn't it? It just is awesome. Okay, so hang on, let's get my I need to get my slides going. Okay, so we're talking about a reserve therapy. Well, it's not a reserve therapy, it's mainline therapy. But what I mean is it's the second stage. If things are not working, you've got to consider this. By the way, can you see the thumbnails, you guys? Can you see them? I presume the audience can.
We can. I'm not sure if
I
they
have
can.
to move them around in case. I never know quite whether they're sitting over the
We can
text or
move
not.
them. I think people can move them themselves, actually, because I just moved mine.
Oh, you can? Oh, that's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so if it's blocking something, folks, just do
Drag
what
it.
young Rob says. See, we've got a great techie on the case. Rob is, as I said, he's the son, but he's also the technical officer, the marketing director, the chief cook and bottle washer, odd job. I don't know what they'd do without him. Certainly, he wouldn't be retiring anytime soon. You'd have to do all the work, John. Instead, you've got young blood. Isn't that wonderful? Anyway, so we're looking at things that will work when other things don't seem to. Why would that happen? You know, we're talking about microcurrent, something electrical. In fact, the term electroceuticals is in fashion now. I mean, go back 100 years and people were called quacks if they had electrical machines. Just, that was it, quacks, they were, period. Scientists knew it was all baloney and BS. And of course, they've had to eat crow because the whole body, the whole of life is something electrical and electronic. So it only makes sense that if you address that instead of addressing the stuff, you know, we're not stuff. Well, I mean, we've got lots of it, but we're not the stuff. The difference between me and a corpse, the corpse has got all the same molecules, all the same enzymes, the same nerve cells, the same this, the same that, but it don't do much. It's a corpse. What's the difference? The answer is electricity. A living person has electrical potential across the membrane of the cells, and that makes all the difference. So addressing that, I mean, it only makes sense, doesn't it, really, if you think about it? So that's why we can get breakthroughs where nothing else really is working. Oh, phooey. Sorry, I'm just going phooey because the obvious slide shifter doesn't seem to do what it should do. Anyway, this is me. I think everybody probably, maybe one or two have invited a friend. So just quickly, this is me. I met with the Hashays, John and Lorraine, back in 1999. I wrote a book called Virtual Medicine. It's now called Medicine Beyond, and it's gone from that thick to that thick, in which I introduced these microcurrent therapy devices, known as the scanar in those days. That's a word you'll bump into, but really it's much bigger than the Russian scanar now. First of all, we have better, much more sophisticated modern devices, but also different centers, you know, manufacturing and teaching. It's a whole science that's come into being. This is the team, as I've just said, so we won't introduce, we won't spend too much time on them, but John, you can see, and is, you know, certainly I would say a world-class expert, has published scientific papers, PhD in what, John? What's your PhD in?
It's in.
In what?
Well, what's it in? It's actually in
integrative medicine, right?
well, it is. It is. Yeah, it's integrative medicine. It's only because I did my thesis in accelerated wound healing
With microcurrent.
using microcurrent. So,
Yeah.
so my
Yeah.
PhD, just in quantum, but it actually comes out in microcurrent.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, you know, I bill you always as a world-class expert. You're probably the number one, but it's not just you, is it? The other half is Laurie, and she is part of you and the team. It's not two people so much as a pair of experts. Yay. All right, so we're on a webinar. What are we going to do? Well, we want to introduce you to this technology. We're going to talk a lot about inflammation because it's big. It's almost everything that gets wrong with human being, you know, even psychological things, psychiatric things. You know, depression is inflammation, and inflammation causes depression, for example. And you know, I think I'm pretty sure, I'm in print anyway, saying schizophrenia, I think, is a kind of autoimmune disease of the brain. Schizophrenia is clearly a physical disease. It's not just how you feel, it's a physical disease. But I think it's based around the inflammatory process like that too. So the familiar model, of course, is, you know, drugs and prescriptions. And when I was a kid at medical school, you know, in my teens, that was in the 60s, you know, drug-based medicine hadn't really taken hold. Yes, it had arrived, but, you know, all sorts of things were considered, you know, valuable things like take some rest, change your diet, all these good holistic healing things doctors were doing. Gradually over the years, it's become pills, chemicals, whatever it is, there's a chemical. Arthritis, take a chemical. Colitis, eczema, you know, just some medication. And that, I think, has drummed into people. Plus, you know, about 10 drug adverts every hour on a US TV has kind of gradually drummed into people that the way you treat things is find a chemical. And if it works, you know, you patent it and then sell it for a lot of money. That seems to be the medical model. Unfortunately, it's so lucrative, they've got into cheating and they slide things in the system that really don't work at all. I mean, I'm talking about antidepressants, for example. Even with all the fake science and fake studies, they're still having trouble proving that antidepressants actually do anything for depression. They get people addicted, of course, but that's not the same thing we're talking about, is it? No, absolutely not. So we want to wean people off. You know, if you look at the bottom left here, the need to take drugs. We don't want surgery if we can possibly avoid it. And you'll be amazed how many times this sort of technology, well, I mentioned the book Virtual Medicine. The very first case I came across with this technology was a man who was scheduled for below-knee amputation for intractable pain. That means it won't go away and it's horrible. So they got so desperate, they said, well, cut your leg off, then you won't feel anything. That'd be great. I don't think so, but that was their recommendation. And then this man was scheduled for a below-knee amputation within the week. Long story short, somebody found his way to the bedside with one of these little handheld devices, gave the guy a treatment, less than an hour, and next day the pain had gone. So the surgeons kind of hesitated a bit. They gave him another treatment next day, and he was very much better. And on the third day, he was so good, they sent him home. And a week later, the day he was supposed to be having his leg cut off, he was in the garden digging with a spade. You know, nothing wrong with his leg. It was just intractable pain that they were not able to solve, and painkillers couldn't solve. So anyway, that gives you some idea of the scale of listen, I'm bringing my experts in a minute. I'm just setting the stage, okay? So as I was saying, the whole idea that there's a pill for everything is just, it's baloney. In actual fact, most drugs are poisons. If you think of a painkiller, what does it do? It poisons the nerves so they don't relay the pain signals anymore. And that's really pretty much what all drugs do in some form or other. Yes, they may lessen the discomfort, but they're not solving anything. You know, you've still got the problem and they've got the pain, which goes away for 6 hours, but then it's back. I think we'd rather solve the problem, wouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, they're chemicals. You don't want them. They are xenobiotic by nature. In other words, they don't belong in nature. So they're going to worsen things. They shorten your lifespan. As I said, they're really numbing and killing out parts of body function. And it sooner or later, it impacts organ function. You know, if you go on taking opiates, for example, indefinitely, you're gonna damage all kinds of organs in your body. And here's what we know about surgery. They're very quick to the knife, because there's a lot of money in surgery. Of course, cardiac surgery, they get, well, anything up to 50 to 100, 200,000 for replacement surgery. But it's just, just solving a little bit of bad plumbing in one little spot, and it's really not addressing the fact the whole person's whole arterial tree is rotten, basically.
Yeah.
So if you've got rotten plumbing all through your house and you replace 6 inches, what's the point of that? There is no point. And the actual figure show is not very effective, but it makes a shed load of money. So it pays for the Ferrari and the marble fireplaces, the swimming pool. And that's why you get offered surgery. The surgeon wants the money. But of course, it is dangerous. You know, you're opening up the body, and there are a lot of complications of surgery. And I know a lot of my followers are in the older age group. Well, damn it, I'm in the older age group myself. But, we are at risk with things like general anesthetics. That's before they even pick up the scalpel. There's a very significant risk of dying with a general anesthetic once you pass the age of 60 or 70. They have to assess you carefully to see how much risk there is in putting you to sleep. So when they're saying that, well, there's nothing else we can do, it's a lie, basically. Instead of going that way, what if we can solve it? John, John, tell us your, the little red light on the dashboard model. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a great model, because people understand this. You're driving along, and all of a sudden a little light on the dashboard comes on, and it's the oil light. Everybody recognizes my oil light has come on.
Right.
So you're afraid to go any further. Well, although you need to get to this destination, you stop at a garage and you say to the fellow in the garage, you say, "My red light has come on. Could you check it out for me? I'm in a hurry, please. Could you help?" So the guy says, "Okay, just move over and I'll get my head under the dash and out we go." And he says, "Okay." So we have 2 scenarios. Number 1, he says, your oil pump has failed, which puts your engine at risk, but and it would cost maybe $800, 800 pounds or more. He said, "Then your car will be ready in 48 hours. And then you say, "Well, I'm in a hurry. I don't have that kind of time, and I don't have that kind of money. But is there a fast fix for this?" And the mechanic said, "Well, what we'll do is we'll cut these wires, the light will go out, and you can get on your way."
No worries.
No worries. Problem solved.
Problem solved. And I think that a lot of medicine today is actually just cutting the wires, putting out that red light, so they can get away, but it's really short.
And of course, people are suckered into the system knowing that when the engine is finally wrecked, they're going to get shed loads of money. It's not fair, is it? Yeah. But the thing is, nature heals, you know, as we're saying here, but the body isn't built to fall apart. It repairs itself. And in fact, doctors don't heal anything. Nature is what heals. And the best a good physician can do is get out of the way, basically. But if you're really good, what you do is find out what's in the way of recovery and then fix that. And as you'll be hearing, inflammation is one of the biggest things that blocks healing. It causes trouble and it also stops the recovery. So a pain, for example, John, am I right that 80% of all pain is inflammation, or a very large percentage of pain is inflammation? Yes, I mean, you've got a broken bone, but it very quickly becomes inflamed and you get the inflammatory response around the injury, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, go on, yes.
Well, we can see in the picture that I think inflammation was described over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Some little Italian fellow in an arena somewhere, and he says, you know what? He said, the Bordeaux Calo tumor. What we see is redness, heat, swelling, and pain are all signs of inflammation.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
and so for 2,000 years, we've known that redness, heat, swelling, and pain are harbingers of inflammation, but we haven't been doing.
Not very good at fixing it. Although that's where your, you know, your omega-3s come in, for example. They're brilliant for inflammation. Look, it says here, it's the root of all disease. Well, is it? I mean, look, even cancer, it's based on inflammation. That's how the cancer cells invade. They inflame surrounding tissues, which then start to malfunction. The Latin word John didn't mention is functiolizer, which means loss of function. Doesn't work like it should. You know, you've got a painful swollen finger, but you can't scratch things or poke it up your nose because it doesn't function as a finger. It's ouch. You don't want it to, you don't want to use it. Yeah. Okay. So, well, I suppose this is a version of the red light story, isn't it? You're either masking symptoms or you're solving them, basically.
Yeah.
And it's not unfair to say the whole of orthodox medicine is really about masking symptoms or treating symptoms. They don't treat the disease. They don't treat the cause of the problem. They treat the result of the problem. And that's just, it's like, if the sink is overflowing, like mopping the floor all the time. That the sink keeps overflowing, you keep mopping the floor. For God's sake, you turn the faucet off and then the sink will stop overflowing. Yeah, okay. So as I said, inflammation, well, we can be quick with this one, actually. Anything to add, John? Because we're just saying inflammation is in the way. It's one of the #1 barriers to healing, yeah? Causes of healing, but and barrier to healing, you got to address that. All right, so once you know the problem, then the answers, as in all things, once you've diagnosed the actual cause of the problem, the answer's easy. Did you want to say something?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are different levels of inflammation. There's inflammation that you can see, you can feel, but there's also that low level of inflammation that is almost like a little volcano. You might have many of these that are going on, and they leak out into the tissue by gravity, possibly, and the chemicals that they release, somewhat like lava leaking from that volcano. They give the name of the disease to where it actually lands,
Inflammation all the same.
Yeah, if the volcano blows up in your appendix, you've got appendicitis. If it blows up in your throat, you've got tonsillitis or quinsy. Okay. So that sounds good. We've got a diagnosis, but actually the true diagnosis is you're suffering from inflammation. This is in part of your lower gut, or this is inflammation in the back of your throat, probably bacterial. Could be virals, but they don't say all that, do they? They just say you've got tonsillitis, as if, I mean, it's like irritable bowel syndrome. You heard of that one? Irritable bowel syndrome is not a disease. It's a symptom. You have an irritable bowel. Why is the question? It's not enough to say, well, it's irritable bowel. Okay, let's move on because we have an awful lot to get through. And again, I suppose somewhat this relates to the red light idea, doesn't it? You can either properly block it or pretend you're blocking it. You know, if you shut your eyes, it's kind of pretend, it's not gone away. Or you can actually turn the switch off, and then you get a, you know, proper transformation. Okay, who's going to take this one? And Rob, you know, it's your first time on stage with my webinars. Why don't you take this one on, the comparison between microcurrent therapy, TENS, PMF, all those things.
Sure.
Tell us about it. I'll move the slides as you talk, okay?
Sure. Yeah, so most common response to people is, oh, so it's electricity, it goes into your skin, so it must be a TENS device, right? Like, just like TENS. And on the answer to that is no. It's very different than a TENS. And yeah, we're going to talk about how it relates to TENS, PEMF. So if you flip to the next slide here, we'll talk about TENS first, I believe.
Yep.
So TENS devices, and really this is what I like to say about them, is they're like electric Tylenol. They're a painkiller that essentially works by blocking pain signals and masking your pain. Right. So they work while they're on. And I've also heard from a lot of people that gradually over time, over a couple of weeks of using them, the effects start to diminish. Now, TENS work at extremely high power. And John's told me this before, we've looked it up. On average, at our strongest in microcurrent, we are 1,000 times weaker than the lowest TENS current. So that's how much electricity is being pumped into your body. And they have a lot of contraindications, right? Don't treat over your heart, your face, your neck, and so on. Like, essentially all but just, you should buy the device, open the manual, and it'll say "do not use" in big capital letters, unless you're dead, in which case you'll probably be fine.
I've got to be careful here, Rob. My good friend Norman Shealy invented this thing, and he's very proud of it. And I love Norm, but you're absolutely right. It has its effect by damaging the nerves. You know, if you just do it enough, it'll kill the signal by just zapping the nerve, and the poor old nerve just can't perform anymore. You know, bad.
And I think, you know, I like to just throw out a quick disclaimer too. I won't take too long here. Is not to make that mistake. I've had clients in the last year that have thought, oh, it's the same thing. They bought a TENS device on Amazon for $26. They've stuck it on their vagus nerve, and they have caused themselves, like really, really bad. 8 months after they switched to our devices to get them back to what I would even remotely consider normal. After one treatment to repair the damage they did to that nerve. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, this is our strong message for you. Just ignore all the marketing baloney for TENS devices. They are dangerous. They have hazards. They produce permanent damage, or very close to permanent damage. Right. PEMF, that's pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, isn't it? Yeah. And sometimes they say PEME, PEME, pulsed electromagnetic energy. What's that?
So, yeah, it's
been around for about 100
It has.
years.
It's been around for a long time, and it's frequency medicine, right? Like the same way microcurrent is frequency. We use a frequency, we put it into the skin, but rather than electricity, it's projected from a device in the form of an electromagnetic field, like your microwave, but you know, hopefully healthier to expose yourself to. And they do definitely have health benefits. What we've found is sort of like a much slower response to people that use PEMFs. They don't change the body as quickly as microcurrent does. They don't make the body kick its natural healing into play as quickly, but they do pass through clothing. They do pass through large areas of the body and kind of saturate the whole area.
So it's a bit like healing Wi-Fi, is it? You know, like Wi-Fi, it's broadcast and goes into your body or through the wall even.
That's right, exactly, yeah.
They were made popular mostly about 100 years ago, I think, by the Russians who were looking for ways to be able to repair bone.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we still, even today, we combo them with our devices. Yeah. We have ones that plug right in there to do deep healing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so microcurrent. So here, what's the difference? You know, for example, this frequency specific microcurrent, or FSM, what's that?
Right.
We're not doing that though, are we? We're using smaller things.
Yeah. We're a little bit more upgraded there. So frequency specific microcurrent is usually hitting an area of pain with one frequency and then with another. They tend to use either like pens, like pencils, or they use wet towels and wrap you up, and then they stick like little clips to the towels and zap you with the frequencies. So these machines are also quite big. A lot of them I've seen, the biggest one I've seen brought to class was like bigger than like a carry-on suitcase for an airplane. And yeah, it seemed to work okay, but it was very limited in the frequencies, and they had to sort of time how long they would hit one frequency for and then turn the dial to switch to the other one. What we've sort of done with our technology is made it handheld, and we've had the engineers have programmed these frequencies, the changing frequencies, right, into algorithms. And then put them onto the chips. So all we need to do is set them to one mode, and all of the changing frequencies are done for you. So microcurrent for dummies, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps we better explain. I mean, you made a big thing quite correctly that we use far less power and current than TENS, because we're not using current. It's information. That's what's being carried, isn't it? We're introducing information using electronic digital carriers, basically. Well, I mean, there's analog functions as well, but essentially it's the information that's imparted. I'll get you to go more into that in a minute. Just let me take just a quick pause here. Welcome everybody. This is Dr. Keith. It's the middle of the night where I am. I'm in a wonderful old 16th century watermill in northwest France. I'm not going to get out anytime soon because of travel. Well, there's other reasons I don't want to travel anyway. But, you know, Viv's traveled. She's gone home. She's in Las Vegas running around in shorts and a t-shirt kind of weather. Wonderful. Now, as I say, with all these things, by all means, you know, ask questions. There's a Q&A box. If you click on that, it will open up and you can type in a question. We will deal with questions, all questions, or the chat box. You can use that as well. Just type in a chat message. We'll be fielding those at the end. I must say, by the time we get to the end, I might be sagging a bit. I might sign off and go to bed and leave you to Rob and John answering all the questions. I'll do my best. And generally the Q&As last an hour or more at the end. So I'll do my best to stay alert and stay awake. But anyway, so I don't want people interrupting, you know, let's just do the flow of the presentation, because we want to keep it going, keep a rhythm going. And also, as I always say, maybe we'll answer your question anyway, just by keeping going. So we'll deal with them at the end if you still have remaining questions. Okay. Thanks for that, Rob. Okay, so let's talk about inflammation then. Flipping the switch is a nice little model there. Click, and it's gone. Shut it down. That'd be very nice, wouldn't it? We do that. Well, remember I said this is about information. It's actually about communication and dialogue. It's not about sort of zap type electricity. It's more like telephone electricity or computers. Explain this. John, take a turn, huh?
It sounds
dialing up the brain. I know you're good at talking about this.
It sounds awful simplistic, really, when you say, well, if inflammation...
Can you lean forward, John, to the microphone?
If inflammation then is the cause of more than 4,000 chronic diseases, then why have we not decided on shutting down inflammation to stop these diseases? The precursors, right? It sounds awful simplistic, but strangely enough, it wasn't really discovered until maybe about 10 years ago that there were areas of the brain that you could actually just flip the switch on and inflammation shut down, like putting the brakes on a car. It's crazy when you think about it that we never decided to include the brain in the healing process.
It's a big part of us, but
yeah, I mean the brain is it's intelligent, as you'd expect. Nature knows what to do. So if you dial in the problem, nature says, "Oh, do this," and actually does it for you. You know, she knows what chemicals to release. That I call this the onboard pharmacy. You use the same expression, don't you guys? That the brain is persuaded to release some healing substances. You know, it's not chemicals like drugs. I mean, you know, hormones are substances, aren't they? And healing things. So we dial up the brain, like, ding, ding, give it a message and it gives a response. And actually on the machine that we're going to show people, it actually tells you, doesn't it, that it's got a reply from the brain. There's a sort of ding-a-ling-a-ling. The brain is on the case, which I love that. I think that's
a whole conversation with the brain, but there are devices out there that you put on the skin, so on and so forth. Somehow the brain's going to pick up on it. But how would you like to have a device that actually holds
the conversation for you?
Holds the conversation, but gives you the information, the feedback from the brain at the same time.
Yeah.
They are amazing. Oh, this is just an image of what John is talking about there. It's like dialing up the brain. Hello, brain. Anybody there? Yes, I'm here. Well, we're going to be talking about the capabilities of a tiny little device like this one's called the Avazzia. There are others, but they're handheld devices. I made famous in late 1990s a phrase, Star Trek medicine, because this is a bit like the thing that old Bones, what's his name, Scotty, what was it? No, Scotty's the other guy. Anyway, Bones, flick a switch and the guy would grow a new arm and all was good. So to me, it looked very like Star Trek medicine. And the first, when I first met the Russians and watched it, it was beyond dramatic. In 10 minutes, they solved a frozen shoulder that had been with a person for years and they were in a great deal of pain. And, after 10 minutes, a person could do this, well, a person with frozen shoulder can't do that. Trust me, they would scream. Just with this tiny, but very, very sophisticated advice. This is the Rolls-Royce one. There's a little family of these Avazzia devices. And we've done, several webinars about the different members of the family, but this is the boss. This was definitely the beast. And if you're a practitioner of any kind, this is the one you want in your practice because it can do almost anything. I came up with this. I'm always good at getting catchphrases, aren't I? But this one is a hospital in your hand, basically. And yes, there's a whole hospital. They've been used for defibrillation, turn it right up, slap it on the person's chest and boom, saved at least one life on an airplane.
I did it. I used that Star Trek medicine for years.
Oh yeah.
Until I had it on a huge stage. I think remember the Harv Ecker presentations that we used to remember that we used to have these over 1,000
I remember
people.
that. Yeah.
And Keith was there.
You got me a standing ovation there once. Wanted to be at the back. Me. Not a spotlight on me.
Problem was, I had all of the technical people behind Star Trek, the Star Trek movies,
right,
who came to see me after, and they said, "You can't use that."
Oh, really? You can't use the term.
Yeah, that's the only reason I dropped it. Because
there was a pub in Dorset called Bilbo Baggins, and they got sued by whichever was the movie company.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you, hospital in your hand or hospital in a box works just as well to describe what this can do.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the key things this will do, and this, by the way, this is straight out of Scientific American. And the reason this is being discussed is it's now very orthodox. Orthodox medicine is trying to manufacture devices to produce this effect, but ours can do it, a little handheld thing can do it all. Do you want to talk us through this one, Rob?
Sure, yeah. Vagus nerve stimulation is a big topic for me. It's a subject of my my PhD that I'm working on right now, so it's my thesis. So vagus nerve stimulation is like at the crux of everything we do, right? By stimulating the vagus nerve, we're able to interact with the gut and the brain at the same time, and we're able to turn off inflammation body-wide. So what we're doing is we're kind of mimicking the implanted devices that are used in conventional medicine, and we're getting in there, we're turning off inflammation. So things like autoimmune disorders, CRPS, stress.
What's that? What's CRPS, please?
CRPS is complex regional pain syndrome. It's considered to be the most painful condition that exists, and I think they rate it as consistent pain equivalent to cutting off a digit without anesthetic. So amputation with no painkillers. all the time. So
right, so it's a very serious misfunction of the nervous system, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the person hasn't cut themselves, they haven't broken a bone, there's nothing wrong, but it hurts like hell.
Yeah,
and it's a bad problem.
It's all inflammation, right? And so even like Crohn's disease, IBS, like whatever it is, vagus nerve seems to touch it, and that's why it's become such an important part of, I mean, every protocol.
Maybe that's why they call it vagus nerve.
It's the one.
It's vague and it's meandering.
Yeah, it does whatever it wants to do, everything.
Yeah. Fibromyalgia, Lyme's, I mean, it's got all kinds of names. Myalgic encephalomyelitis, it's known as in Europe. Same thing, just unknown generalized inflammatory. Fibromyalgia means connective tissue and muscles hurt, basically. Algia means pain, yeah. Okay, so, I've lost it again. There we go. So as Rob was saying there, the orthodox medicine is on it, but it's the usual thing. It'll be fantastically expensive, hugely invasive, only they can do it. And it's going to create scar tissue, which we know to be a particular problem, in fact. The usual cack-handed solution that costs a lot of money and isn't that good an idea at all.
Right.
And there are much simpler, gentler, more natural ways of doing the same thing, and that's what we do. You use this little device to send calm down messages, calm to the body. The vagus nerve is what we call parasympathetic, and that's the calm down feeling. That's when you're meditating and relaxed, or you've just had a big delicious supper and you're sat on the sofa and fall asleep. That's parasympathetic, as opposed to sympathetic, which is the flight or fight and and very stressful. So it's the reverse of stress, in other words, parasympathetic. And we're lucky the vagus nerve is right near the surface. We can touch it and trigger it, but it goes to almost the whole body. I mean, what a gift. So tell us where we find it, John. What we do some work here in the neck, yes?
We don't have a white probe here in the neck.
No.
Preferably speak towards the, just tell us where. Speak towards the microphone, not behind you.
Right in his neck. If you want to move over sideways, right about over here.
Yeah.
Where you'll find the vagus nerve.
There's this long diagonal muscle, isn't there? So, I mean, you don't have to, you're not looking for a millimeter square. Anything within a sort of circular inch will hit it. So anybody can do it. And you just apply the probe. This is one with a sticky pad, but the Y probe, you'll see that in a minute. It's like two metal balls that carry current. And don't forget, it's just completely comfortable. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, I mean, you feel it, you need to be able to feel a little electrical buzz so it's working, but you don't have to go, ouch, and endure, that is not required. So it's a brilliant new technology has opened up to us just in the last few years, right? And with, was it 2015, I think, that Scientific American ran this amazing article? It was 2015, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a front cover story. They said this might be the medicine of the future, the answer to diabetes. And they even said, and maybe the answer to cancer. I mean, that's pretty incredible. All right, now neurofeedback. We need to just briefly explain what that is. It's, poor functioning parts of the brain not doing well. It can be very specific in different areas, but it can have a whole lot of effects like this. Tell us about neurofeedback, John.
Well, neurofeedback is generally people think about biofeedback, which is basically stimulating different areas, for example, or getting readings, getting the participant to participate in his own healing process by being able to see himself quieten down. It could be through heat, for example. If you can, we have these images on the screen where what we do is we get the participant on the screen to light up this light bulb. And as the bulb grows lighter, your stress diminishes.
Right.
See? So through imagery, through participation from between the client and and a screen, we're able to control different parts of the body.
They
Now,
get you
if
to explode barrels, don't they, and things like that. You know, you think about this barrel and you want it to go bang, and sooner or later you develop the skill to make it happen, and boom, the barrel explodes, and that's your reward. Because it's only a digital screen, as John was saying. Anyway, let's move on to what it can do. What use is that? Well, I mean, sleep, anxiety, depression, all of these things.
Yeah.
Digitally now, we can even, we have these images now where we can get people to pile rocks one on top of the other.
Well, technology's improved for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah. Shoot arrows, and it's using your mind to be able to hit the target.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, you know, what we do here, right, is we kind of put the frequencies into the brain to get it to hit the right targets, whether that's,
right.
You know, you can't sleep properly, you're depressed, you have PTSD, like all of these programs exist within this device, right?
So we know of alpha, beta, delta, theta, and gamma, which are different frequencies that the brain emits.
Different brain frequencies, yeah.
Yeah.
So delta is the sleep one, isn't it? So if you can induce delta in the brain, the person will drop asleep, which for some people would be a miracle.
And to be able to get the delta means it's the deep reparative sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And alpha is the calm and relaxed, you know, the parasympathetic I was just talking about. There's a word here. I mean, the evolution is just another device. Don't let that distract you. But alpha and gamma frequencies are very healing, very useful. Yeah. Oh. All right, alpha. Oh, well, that's the opposite of flight or fight, as we were saying. Oh, yeah. Now you've got these ear clips. This is a new addition, isn't it? With the device, you can clip it on your ear, and it will send the signal straight through the brain. And if it's alpha, the person will chill.
Repair. All of that is in alpha.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can get sleep enhancement from that. You can get stress reduction. Seen people that are running themselves ragged in life, right? And they can't keep up. And then they clip those ear clips on, and then they suddenly take that deep breath, like breathe out, and they're like, whoa, I'm relaxed.
Yeah. Marvelous stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so all kinds of things that we can do. This is a quick a sort of straw poll survey, isn't it, really? But nevertheless, it gives you some idea. We're not talking a 3% improvement like they are with drugs and chemical, you know, pharmaceuticals. We're talking nearly 100% effective. Trot us through this, Rob.
I'm going to let Rob in on this one, because we did a study, didn't we?
Yeah. So we had we have a membership group that we asked to participate in a study if they wanted to on PTSD, anxiety, depression. And we had this idea actually pulled from a government study that was being done where they were trying to do the same thing. And we were like, well, what about doing it without devices? Because you know what's going to happen with this government study? They're going to patent a device that does one thing, costs you $25,000, and that's it, right? You can only use it for that one thing. So we ran this study. It was done for 6 weeks, I think. The results poured in. And within a week of doing it, we were starting to see positive improvement in all these categories. So we did have people do it for anxiety, depression, and PTSD primarily. We had a 95% improvement with anxiety, 85% with depression, and 75% with PTSD. We had some kind of write-in things for ADHD where people noticed reduction of their ADHD. And a surprising and grateful benefit was improved sleep length as well in 90% of people that did the protocol.
Yeah.
And it's
sleep
all tied
is
into
the most healing thing you can. If
you
there
can
was
do.
a number one healing modality, I'd say sleep, but it's got to be real sleep. This stupid idea of putting a person into a coma deliberately
doesn't work.
It's farcical, in fact, dangerous, but they're on the track because, you know, we know that sleep is so healing and restorative. Yes. What's that? Those funny things on his eyebrow, Rob?
Those are, we have specific pads that fit right on there. We treat through the trigeminal nerve, right above the eyebrows. And those sticky pads just kind of stick right on there like stickers and hang there. And then you can drape the wires behind your ears so they're not in the way and people can go about their business. I recommend people do this protocol while lying down in a relaxed environment, but some people they don't have the time, so they'll do it while doing their
I'm so
doing
busy,
their chores.
so busy being stressed, I haven't got time to
Exactly.
de-stress.
They got to do this to counteract it. But yeah, they're easy to apply. Stick the pads on, set the mode, and run it. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. It gets better all the time. You're bringing up new ideas all the time. All right. I think we've covered some of this, haven't we? That there's 4,000 diseases, just lots of diseases. I mean, I defy you to think of a disease that doesn't have an inflammatory element, really. Most diseases hurt in some way or the other. Or their degeneration, aging and degeneration, that's an inflammatory process. Even cancer has a very strong, and this is orthodox medicine teaching, even cancer has a very strong inflammatory element. That's how cancer cells manage to penetrate in the surrounding tissues. Oh yeah, now a couple of things here. So John, I know you've had your background, you're extremely widely trained and knowledgeable practitioner. You can tell us this, but you can interact with other modalities altogether, can't you? In fact, you can go to specific acupuncture points.
A lot of acupuncturists today that have decided to use microcurrent
instead of needles.
You have stimulation points, but you also have attenuation points. And
what's an attenuation point?
It means that it'll calm the energy instead of stimulating it.
Yes. Okay. Good. You just need to say that. Remember to say that.
Attenuation points. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So instead
soothing
of
points, I suppose. Yeah.
Needles, what they've decided to do is use microcurrent on the stimulation point, for example.
Yeah.
So you get a double benefit. You can use the interactive signals and healing messages of microcurrent, but apply it where the Chinese say it would do the most good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Have you got one of those pencil probes within arm's length, Rob? I mean, don't leave the screen, but.
No, I don't think we have one within arm's length.
All right. Listen, next time we do one of these, I want a Y probe on the desk, the pencil on I want the eyebrow pads on the desk. Anyway, we don't teach Chinese, TCM and acupuncture therapy, but they interact. If you've got skill in that direction, these devices fit very well with it. That's what we're trying to say, I suppose. And the same with chakras, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the chakras are a great treatment for any emotional blockages. As you know, an emotional blockage could totally block physical healing. And so people with stress, anxiety, past traumas, a lot of that seems to get held in the chakras as like an energy point, right?
Yeah, the question is, if you were created with the capacity to self-heal, why are you not healing?
Something's blocked.
Sometimes, we can look at chakras as releasing that emotion that's causing the problem.
Yeah. And the Pro-Sport has a program for every one of the chakras. They're tuned to specific frequencies, just like the meridians.
Yeah, the chakra frequencies. Yeah, that might be a new idea to Ayurvedic type practitioners. But each chakra is a specific signal, specific tone or message, and that relates to frequency. Yeah, right. So I mentioned this idea before, that we're going for the onboard pharmacy. We're tickling the brain and getting a message back from it, and it will release. It knows what to release, and these work. I mean, there are lots of complex chemicals, hormone type chemicals, neurotransmitters they're called. That's another group of chemicals that do an awful lot of good. I mean, there are some that are bad, like bradykinin. It hurts, it causes pain. But serotonin, about that, and dopamine, these are all good things. Good to have. The brain knows what to do. Now, John, can you explain a little bit of this for us? Because the wonder thing about this device is that it will tell you what's going on. And you can see there's a tiny screen there with all kinds of numbers, which you won't understand, and we're not going to explain, but just suffice it to say there's a lot of information on that little screen. How does this work, John, dialing up the brain?
Well, actually, if I
you're putting it's hidden by the microphone. There you go. Now shove it straight at us. Put it right up to the camera like that, please.
There we go. Yeah. Here we go.
Well, okay. No, we can't read anything, but never mind. Go on. Tell us what use it is.
Yeah, and I put it into a specific program called Reactions. I can go onto his body and I can take readings that I can interpret as being where the problem is.
And it's often not where you feel, is it? Sometimes the problem's here and you feel it in your wrist, or a lot of people will know if they have a bad hip, the pain is often in the knee. We call that referred pain, and it's very tricky, so you can be treating the wrong place altogether. But this device won't let you do that. It says, no, treat here.
Could have a carpal tunnel issue right over here, but the problem, he may have inflammation here, but it may be coming from another area, the pronator teres muscle over here.
Oh, don't use those words, John. Please don't use those words. We don't need to know what a pronator muscle is. This muscle here at the elbow.
Yeah, the muscle here.
We know you passed an anatomy exam, but the listeners haven't.
Well, and I think, the big takeaway for this, is you're either able to determine whether the tissue is good, inflamed, or degenerative, right? Within 1 second of putting that to the skin. So not only can you find out where the big problem is, you can also say, oh, so the problem isn't inflammation, it's degeneration.
Yeah.
So then you change your approach.
Here that's causing inflammation over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's being able to, within a second or a couple of seconds, make that decision and adapt the treatment to make sure it's going to be effective.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, listen, I've just been noticing this. We've had quite a few more people join, even now. In fact, somebody just joined now, just a very second. So for the newcomers, just let me explain. Lorraine Hache is not with us. She's been not well. This is son, Rob, who is very knowledgeable, very clever, and he's the tech man and the marketing man and the webmaster, and he's chief cook and bottle washer. He's everything. They couldn't do without him now. But so Rob has come on to answer questions, because if you decide you want to get involved in this technology and you go and look at the pricing of these devices and so on, there's a chat offer. If you click on it, it opens a chat box, and the person you will be talking to is Rob. And I can tell you now, our experience from these webinars is that he gets overwhelmed in the 2 hours after a broadcast, and most people have to come back next day, but it'll be him. So if you can't get through, don't worry, just try again next day. Rob will answer all your questions, as well as we're having a Q&A. And again, for those who came late, I'm in the middle of the night here. It's now nearly coming up to 3 o'clock in northwestern France, and I'm beginning to fade slightly, only slightly. Come on. I'm not an old duffer yet. Okay, let's move on. So this is a further explanation, isn't it, Rob, of you treat where the trouble is, not where the symptom is necessarily. Where would you treat? You'd treat on spot what?
So in this case, you've taken a reading on each point on A, B, and C. A was 39, B was 52, and C was 27, and highest point is the problem. So point B, it being the highest point, is further up from the ankle there. So you would treat there to fix the ankle pain.
Right. And then something else I don't think we mentioned in the slides, but John always emphasizes, you treat both sides of the body. If you can do a mirror image treatment, and that often yields a very good recovery result, doesn't it? And I mean, I remember treating my son who broken his ankle, not a bone. He got a break clean through the ankle joint. He's a chef and had skidded on a greasy floor in the kitchen. Pretty unpleasant. Anyway, long story short, it was up to the knee in plaster of Paris. I couldn't even reach the injured ankle, so I just treated the other ankle. He was still well and had the pot off in less than half the time that would be normal. The orthopedic guys couldn't believe it. Yeah, so now there are 53 algorithms, am I right, in this Rolls-Royce device, the Sport Pro?
In this particular machine.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, a hell of a lot of stuff. Now, I can't say it's a no-brainer. That's not really quite true, is it? But you can dial up, like you dial up modulate. If there's inflammation, acute inflammation, you dial up a certain treatment, turn it to where it's comfortable, and whack, you apply it to the person's body. So in a sense, it's a no-brainer. And what are these are two fancy programs, aren't they? What do they do? What's a PG 2500?
So I think it stands for Pain Gate, right, John?
Yeah, it's an old Russian.
Yeah, it's an old Russian one. When you get to the old Russian stuff, you're dealing with some secret stuff. It's essentially a potent pain blocker. So, a good example, my wife fell rock climbing. and she had to work the next day at the hospital. She landed right on her arm. It was black and blue up there. She could barely move it. She did 10 minutes of PG 2500, and then she worked a 12-hour shift. So,
Wow.
you know, with no pain. And she had to keep treating afterwards to, you know, deal with the injury. But if you need to get through the pain to get something done, PG 2500 is your program.
Wow.
And then we have solfeggio. Yeah, that's your do, re, mi.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. Yeah, I guess the chant, and they used to chant these things to get closer to God. I don't know what it was.
But the thing is, right? Like these notes are very high frequencies, which work really well for neuropathic pain, because those nerves, which John has treated like hundreds of people with this condition, where the neuropathic nerve pain, the peripheral neuropathy, and you can actually, you know, he can zap the feeling back into those nerves, so they're coming back to life, you know, with solfeggio. That's the program if you have neuropathy.
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
you find that peripheral neuropathy, you'll find a lot of what we call diabetic foot problems.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say diabetes is one of the common causes of peripheral neuropathy. That and B12 deficiency, eh? All right, now what's this? Pons. Pons?
Oh,
Pons means bridge in Latin. Who's going to take this one? Rob?
I'll talk about this one. So this is probably one of the biggest innovations in microcurrent therapy, like in the last 5 years. It's within that time period. So it was Dr. Norman Doidge. He went out and he started to study the effect of stimulating the brain through the pons. But how do you get to the pons? Well, the tongue enables us to treat through the tongue, through the nerves in the tongue, and actually reach the pons to treat the brain. So what he developed the treatment primarily for was treatment of TBIs, or traumatic brain injuries, which I know are way more common than I thought they were. A lot of people suffer from TBIs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, a lot of football players, anybody who's in contact sports, really.
Yeah, and he also started to do studies on Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and seeing similar effects here. We even started to see people, you know, be able to deal with their sense of smell being gone, or hearing issues, or taste issues through using this device. But of course, the therapy got FDA approved. Well, not FDA approved, Health Canada approved overnight. Somehow it came out of nowhere. Single device, sits on your head and sticks to your tongue. $35,000 for 6 weeks of treatment. Then that's it. You go in, I think, twice a week for treatment for 6 weeks for the $35,000. And then if you need to continue your treatment, it's I think it's blocks of $5,000 last time I checked. It works. But the thing is Dr. Doidge told us the exact frequency that we needed to do in order to treat it, the exact specifications in his book. And the Pro-Sport III has those capabilities in it. So
once you've got a device that's free, in effect, you can do this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Treatment. And so again, if you're a practitioner, you've got a miracle in your hands. You know, people are going to clatter their way to your front door if they hear about this. Yeah. Especially those that have read Norman's book that can't afford all that money. Listen, it sounds a bit scary sticking electrodes on your tongue. Promise it doesn't hurt.
No, it feels kind of weird. It's like a little tingle. I was nervous to do it at first too, but we have a specific tongue stimulator electrode, which is not metal. So if you have a bunch of metal fillings, it doesn't, it's not uncomfortable. It's not going to conduct extra. And really, no one ever really needs to turn the power up. You power one, stick it on your tongue, close your mouth, and just, it's comfortable enough. No pain, I promise.
It's not going to actually create pain. And now we can also do these things are coming on stream all the time, aren't they? We can do wonderful things with eyes. As you said, Rob, originally it's just wet towels and they'd stick the electrodes on the towel.
Yeah.
A bit like Nazi torture chamber stuff, I think.
Oh dear, yeah. I hadn't thought of it like that.
Of course it doesn't hurt. But anyway, talk us through eye treatments.
You have to pay big money for that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, so the eye treatments, John wrote a book a few years back called Secrets of Eye Health, and it's a user's guide to all these different eye conditions. we've come a long way from wet towels and gator clips. We're now just using electrode goggles, which sit on your eyes.
I think we've got a picture of those.
I think we have one, yeah.
Oh, no. We'll come to it.
It might be at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're now using that because what we find with the eyes is all eye conditions, really, it's a lack of oxygenation, right? A lack of blood flow.
The eyes are starving to death.
They're starving to death.
Lack of nutrients, yeah.
Yeah. And by improving the blood flow to the eyes, these eye conditions, they fade away. And I've even had people with no known conditions aside from deteriorating vision that are like, well, I just want to, get my 20/20 vision back. And they'll just slap the goggles on and use them. Eye treatments, again, you might think, oh, I want to zap my eyes with electricity. But again, it's totally painless, just a funny tingling feeling.
Right, and don't forget your eyes are alive with electricity anyway. That's how you see. Low voltage current, microcurrent, it's the same thing in effect. Yeah, now this is an interesting little story. Oh, well, listen, these are some of the conditions, presbyopia and things, horrible big words. Maybe it's amblyopia. Oh, I know what these mean, but let's just say it can treat a whole bunch of eye problems, including glaucoma and cataracts. Macular degeneration. So it's a really good thing for eyes, and you can get special goggles, which you'll see in a minute. But I just want to also go, is this a case of yours, John, or is it one of your practitioners? Yeah. So this is, tell us about it anyway. So, if you look at the left-hand picture there, you can see his eyes are drifting upwards, and that was the problem. And that's why a lot of children with sort of neurological deficits look a bit odd and a bit loony, is because their eyes don't do what they should do. They don't look straight in the eye. And so it looks like they're evasive or looking strangely in some weird way. They're not, but there's a problem. Anyway, what happened with Riker? What do we do with him? Goggles?
So Riker, they did end up using the goggles, but he worked with one of our trained microcurrent users who went in quickly to try and do the microcurrent, because the doctor's plan was to kind of go in from the side of the skull and do some surgery there. And so a couple of treatments, like honestly, I think actually the next picture that we're going to show is that's after. You can after only a couple of treatments,
and his eyes are back to normal, as you can see.
His eyes are back to normal, yeah. And the fluids had stabilized and they'd subsided in his brain, and with his vision and his balance and showing improvement there. She kept going with microcurrent herself. She still sees the practitioner to this day, and Riker's not having any kind of remission really there. I believe he has glasses now.
No, regression.
Sorry, regression.
He's in remission, but he's not. But no regression. And I perhaps should explain that hydrocephalus water on the brain is what people say, but it crushes the brain and gradually reduces brain tissue. But as you just heard Rob say, it actually stopped that process. There was no further degeneration. So it's pretty remarkable. And this is Mom. We maybe just take time to read Mom's words. She's very excited, obviously. He's not falling around. He can play normally with other kids.
Back essentially leading a normal life now.
What the hell is a jungle gym?
Oh, like what do they call them? Like in
they're actually play areas where
like a climbing frame kind of
climbing frame. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. And he wasn't afraid of fall. Yeah, you see, if your eyes can't focus, your balance is shot. You can't balance.
Oh, yeah.
If your eyes won't give you true signals, because that's how we balance. We align ourselves with the environment visually. That's why, you try this, put your feet together, one in front of the other, and close your eyes. You won't last 10 seconds before you fall over. Visual is very important to balance. Oh yeah, and we mentioned these goggles. I think goggles is a funny word, Rob. You can't see through them. There's a pad in the middle over the pupil, and then surrounding electrodes, but they sure as hell work. Now they're an extra, but they are available, so anyone who's interested in eye problems, this would be a great extra tool to have as well. I'm thinking of practitioners now. Again, if you can do half of these things, people are going to want your services, that's for sure. And if you see a problem, that you've got, then be confident that the solution is probably here. Well, I'm going to speed up a little bit because we're past 3 o'clock. And people, by the way, people are still joining. I don't know, maybe they got the time wrong because it was 5 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. Come on. Anyway, let's just say you can do cosmetics or cosmetology, or what's it called? Aesthetology, as the Americans.
Yes.
By toning muscles in various places, you can tweak the face and recover really quite an attractive face, even if you've gone a bit saggy and a bit wrinkly. And some women are having great, well, it's pity Laurie's not here because she would have the lady patients, wouldn't she? But and she is probably very keen on it herself. But women like this, let's put it that way. It's an extra, it's free. You don't, because you've got the device, so you just learn how to work it on your face in this systematized way, and you can get all these effects like fixing crow's feet, droopy eyebrows, the bags, lip lines, things like that. It's all women's stuff. I don't get it. Kidding slightly, but we can do body toning as well, can't we? We can. This is not a way to get 6-pack abs, but losing a lot of weight and getting fit is, and complemented by toning up the muscles, you can look marvelous. And it's also good for injuries and things, because the first thing the pain does is freeze the limb. That's what it's for. You've broken a bone, don't move it, and the agonizing pain stops you moving it. That's what it's for. Well, of course, after 3 weeks of that, your arm has gone all saggy and horrible and weak. It needs bringing back to life. And that's what we mean by injury, or sports injuries and so on. And also abdominal tissue after childbirth. Again, that would be interesting to women, wouldn't it? They got, they look good, but they got that saggy belly when they take the skirt off or their pants off, it goes blip. Not because they're fat or overeaten, but because the muscle tone is lost.
The rectus abdominis.
It splits.
Yeah. All right.
Down the middle.
So why is regeneration in here? Now, like I said, it's not regression. Remission and regeneration are the good words. Who's going to take
definitely
this on, Rob?
Regeneration, I mean, we have specific frequencies for regeneration. We have specific programs. Every type of tissue seems to respond to different frequencies. So whether you're healing bone or tendons or muscles or nerves, you can go in and you can use those frequencies to trigger that regeneration. And because the Pro-Sport 3 is fully programmable, you can actually go in and dial those frequencies down to the exact hertz you need, and then just apply them to the body. And it's really simple to do. Of course, you can't regenerate if you're inflamed. So we need to take the inflammation down first, but then we can get in and we can do the repair, right?
Well, it all comes back to what we were saying a little bit earlier on about if you were created to self-repair, why aren't you repairing? You're not repairing because there are blockages of communication within your body, within your systems.
Get rid of those and you can repair.
That's right. So regeneration is all about knocking out the blockages, getting rid of the blockages that permit congruent information flow within your body to permit you to repair. So regeneration then is basically permitting congruent information flow within the body.
Okay, so we've mentioned improved. I'm going to speed up a bit because we want to describe this. Well, there's only one other slide, but anyway, Delta, deep sleep. It's one of the most restorative and healing things you can do. And the converse, if you keep a person awake and they can't sleep, they're going to fall apart mentally, physically. They get shredded if you can't have proper sleep. So it's very important. 7 or 8 hours. Those that claim they can manage on 4 or 5 hours, they're idiots. They're going to shorten their, they don't really get any extra hours in the day because they live years less. So if you do all the math, you're not gaining anything. I'd rather have the long sleep and the 90 years. Anyway, so now what I've done, folks, is I've made an arrangement with the Hachets, the Pain Free for Life group, or Pacific Health Options. I'm not quite sure which it's under this, but anyway, I bought a bunch of training programs which I'm offering to you as scholarships. If you get one of these devices, you can, and I'm talking about the Rolls-Royce device, the Sport 3. There are others, but you know, this is the one for, this is the big performing, the big hitting one that a practitioner would want. You know, it's not a home device for toothache and things. It's a real, well, again, it's a hospital in your hand, basically.
Yeah, you can do anything
talk
with
us
it.
through this. What would, this is $2,000 worth of training, for good's sake. It's not going to cost you anything, so don't shrink. Just listen to what they're saying is involved with this.
So, you know, with the Pro-Sport 3, you have access to essentially, as I said, like your hospital in a box. You can do pretty much anything with it, but how? Right. And so we have worked the last 2 years to put together a video library. We still add to it every month. It has over 200 videos in it, and they're all like, you could go in and you can type in whatever condition you're looking for, and up pops the video. And you can go in and you can watch a 5 to 10 minute video, depending on the complexity, that walks you through how to do it with your device, from picking it up and turning it on for the first time to actually treating that condition. So unlimited access to this video library is huge, because this essentially is your guidebook, virtual guidebook to your hospital in a box. But some people find videos, manuals are not quite enough. And so we've hired a team of treatment coordinators who will actually work one-on-one with you. So whether you're a practitioner, whether you're a home user just looking to use this device to optimum for optimum functionality at home, your treatment coordinator, everyone gets one-on-one support 5 days a week. So this would be, they will build you from within 2 days of ordering. They'll be in touch with you to get your case history. They'll start to develop a protocol for you and plan, so that by the time you get the device in your hand, you're ready to use it. And this is an ongoing service, which is just huge to have that personal contact, right? We also have a private Facebook group. We'll run through that briefly as well, because this is kind of a bullet point list, right? And I teach weekly live courses that on topics that members choose. So I did one on cancer, one on eradicating viruses, you know, because that's what people wanted to hear. And we do like a 45-minute, 1 hour lecture where, again, it's from the ground up. If you just received your device, you'll be able to follow that lecture through to using it for that purpose. And then every month, John and I get together and we get barraged by questions and we answer them, just like we will at the end of this webinar. So some people like to put us on the spot. Do that. And then there are more features as well, but those are the main ones for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And well, that's the video library. Yeah. No, I think you described that quite well, didn't you?
I think I did. Yeah.
So, and here's, what was her name? Anne, this lady, very pretty.
Annie. Yeah. Annie.
Yeah. And she's one of the trainers that you'll be meeting. Yeah.
Yep.
Now tell us about their I'm not that much into social media, so let's explain for folks what a Facebook private group is.
Yeah. So this is a group where we get together and we can have conversations. Usually people use it to just ask questions. So if they're on the road and they meet a friend and that friend's hurt, they'll drop a message on there. Within a couple of minutes, someone will fire them an answer back. It's not always us, but the membership private group includes a whole range of really experienced practitioners that all use this equipment and use other modalities too. So you'll see we've got dentists, naturopaths, medical doctors, massage therapists, you name it, in there. So they'll give you microcurrent advice, but they'll also say, you know, well, maybe you should be looking at this this mineral here. And so it becomes a very good resource for people to solve their problems. And a great social experience. Yeah,
I was going to say, the important thing is they can talk to each other. It's not the boss talking to the members. It's the members talking among themselves as well, which makes it particularly powerful, I think.
And
that's important.
Outside of the FDA or any of these other regulating bodies that people are afraid of, to be able to speak on open forums.
Yeah, and just get the answers you need, because we're restricted online with what we can publish publicly by the FDA, but in the private group, you're a member. So it's like, you know, beating a Fight Club. Yeah.
or a speakeasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Now
can
you
just
mentioned
go right
viruses.
outside.
You mentioned viruses.
Yeah.
We ought to say that. I mean, there's the virus, but any viral illness. Herpes is a much bigger problem than you know what. I mean, it's everybody's suffering it from one way or the other, and it's not just the genital type. We're now beginning to think that the herpes virus might well be the cause of Alzheimer's. There's mounting evidence. Be great to be able to throw these things off. And an Epstein-Barr is mentioned here, particularly nasty one, because it gets under the radar, it hides, and it can be in your body for decades and create all kinds of mischief. There are specific protocols, am I right, you two? You know, like this is, you do this, this, and this, and that'll zap the viruses.
So yeah, it depends. Really, like we have protocol books and everything. The main thing is that immunity, really good in enhancing immunity. We have to make sure your immune system's working. And if not, there are specific frequencies that I cover in this video that's showing here that you can program into the Pro-Sport to deal with the individual viruses.
Right. That's a book called Current Therapy, which you can buy on Amazon, or you can get it directly from the Hachey's shop, the Sana shop. I think we give that away with standalone devices, don't we? But not the. I mean, there's better. You know, the whole training program that we're talking about with the scholarship. That's the one you want, really. Oh, that's part of the deal. Now you've already explained that. So this is it. This is what we want, right? It is the Rolls Royce, and I've got to tell you, it's 4,200, 43 at 2,500, so 25,000. It's still a stupendous bargain for what it does. But actually, it's next to nothing. You know, if you measure that over 10 years and how little it really costs, and what you're going to earn back as a practitioner, or what you can save yourself in medical bills. That's the other thing. I mean, if you can keep yourself out of hospital, you could save 200,000 or 300,000 just for 4,000. So tell us about it. What is in the Sport Pro kit? That's the case on the right is the kit, and you've seen the little handheld device that's on the left.
So you get your infamous Y probe. Everyone loves the Y probe.
We're saying infamous. It's not infamous. There are two metal balls on a thing like that, and it's magic because you can touch the body in two places. So there's a current in and a current out.
And I actually do have one over there. They're great, and they're probably the most popular tool. So everyone needs one. You get one of those. You get a brush electrode for treating pets or treating through hair or beards. A pencil electrode for the mentioned meridian points and acupuncture points. And you get conductive pads if you want to go hands-free. And then, of course, the wires to connect them. And all of that fits snugly inside that little box. Here's the Y probe.
Right, yeah, we got one. Thank you, John. Yes, so it's two electrodes like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't spark. There aren't blue flashes of flame between the two balls.
Nope.
We're talking, you know, absolutely micro, mini amperes and millivolts. Yeah. All right, keep going.
Very, very comfortable. Yeah, so that's the main stuff in the kit. And then, of course, we've got the training included, which, you know, is a big bonus for people to be able to dial in and figure out whatever they need.
Well, we're going to look on that in a minute. Let's just run through this bullet point. You know, this is a summary, isn't it?
Yeah,
what we've been talking. Mental health concerns, sleep and stress. You're able to do vagus nerve stimulation, easy and at the drop of a hat, anywhere with anybody at any time. Clearing scar tissues. I mean, that's of interest to quite a lot of people. Biofeedback, neurofeedback we were talking about, weren't we? It's got that diagnostic function which will tell you where to treat, and it's not always intuitive. Excuse me. I think it's just dryness, actually, and I didn't bring myself a glass of water up, so too bad. Pain management is probably the #1 thing, isn't it? With these devices, you probably do more anti-pain work than anything else. But you can do chakras, you can do Chinese meridians, and don't forget that cosmetic and body toning thing. That's of interest to a lot of ladies, I know. And regeneration. So let's put all this together. As I said, I've negotiated these specialist scholarships. It's like $2,000 worth of training. Well, at least, I mean, you could charge twice that and it would be still very, very fair. When you think what people online charge for, you know, so-called coaching, you know, I'm a coach, I will coach you for $30,000. And it's not always clear they know more than you do. Anyway, the point is that you've had the scholarship offer explained. So what are they going to get all told? Let's run through it one last time, Rob. And then, oh, by the way, let me say, this is the at the top of the page there. If you look, available now, you go to that website. It's thesanashop.com/KSM. And I have to keep saying each time, capital K, capital S, capital M. Otherwise, it won't work. After the .com, it's case sensitive. So it doesn't matter before that. So thesanashop.com/KSM in uppercase letters. And if you've got questions, you go to that website anyway. There'll be a pop-up thing that you click on and you get answers directly from Rob. You will engage in a chat with him and you can see how knowledgeable this fella is. All right, run us through it then, Rob. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna have to get on that chat soon. Now people know about it. So the Pro-Sport 3 device, obviously you need your device in your kit if you're gonna use the microcurrent. Every one of these accessories we mentioned after this plugs right into the side of that device. So you'll be able to just seamlessly transition from the plate on the back, which we kind of showed off here earlier. So this will treat as well, but anything plugged into the side will turn the electricity from there into one of those attachments. Mm-hmm. So you end up with your Y electrode that we mentioned, which we've got here. And then we've got the comb electrode for your pets and for treating through your hair, pencil electrode for meridians, and I believe it's used cosmetically as well for fine lines if you're looking for that.
We also have those cosmetic electrodes as well.
Yeah. There's wires, obviously. You need the wires to connect your probes. You've got your sticky pads for your hands-free treatment. You've got a big deluxe vinyl, is it vinyl? It might be leather, actually, carry case that has an insert for everything to slot nicely into it. And then there's an ebook as well that comes with it that sort of acts as a user's guide to complement the training.
Mm-hmm. Plus this like $2,000
plus.
And it's lifetime, folks. I mean, we can only give away a few of these because it's for life. They're shooting themselves in the foot, really. They could be charging you a bunch of money, but in fact, they're willing to give it away to the first 30 people. So,
well, and honestly, the one-on-one support is such a big part of that, right? I mean, having a person on call that you can ask questions of at any time, I mean, that's invaluable to me as a dad looking for questions for my son if I ever needed them.
Right. Okay. So we'll leave this up while we do the Q&As. Rob, I mean, take a couple, Rob, or do you want to run off now and start fielding the chats that'll come through?
We can take a couple. I'll turn it on and see when the chats come in if I have to deal with them.
Okay, so Amerigo says you can't see the thumbnail. A bit late to help with that, isn't it, I guess? Can it help heal osteoarthritis of the knee, unrelenting pain, cartilage regeneration? I think the straight answer is yes. Isn't it?
Yep.
Those are easy ones.
That's the easy, yeah, it's real easy, that one. Anonymous attendee, when will you finally stop waffling on and get on? You can get lost. We don't need rude. That's not a question. You're just being a rude asshole. How is this different or similar to the Rife machine? No similarity at all. Nothing whatsoever. We don't use mortal oscillatory rates. We're not trying to kill cells or organisms. You know, we're not trying to zap them, I should say, cells and organisms. We're trying to trigger the natural healing process in the body. Oh, John, this is one for you specifically. Graham Dinnan is a very good friend of mine, a Scottish spelling. He's now living in Bali, poor thing. Anyway, oh, what have I done with the screen? Oh, sorry. Oh, I screwed up.
There you go.
Let me, yeah, there we go. Bell's palsy, that's what I wanted to ask you. So will it help with Bell's? I seem to remember you had a slide with a Bell's palsy before and after, didn't you? We used on one of the old, and it was very clear there was a huge benefit, yeah?
Absolutely. It could be medically induced medication, different reasons for Bell's palsy. But in all cases, the trigeminal nerve is usually the one that is involved. And I don't know of any Bell's palsy that we've ever had in 20 years that we didn't go into remission of.
Well, that's the answer. Okay, yes. A resounding yes then. Raymond says, can it be used to heal a damaged meniscus in the knee? And is it good for insomnia? Well, we've answered the insomnia one over and over, haven't we, during this?
Yeah.
Help with the meniscus problem?
Yeah, definitely. The meniscus is a big knee problem. And I'd say maybe, but there isn't a knee problem that we haven't fixed in 20 years.
No, okay. Don't get into boasting, John, but I believe you. I've seen the miracles.
I'm sorry, but that's how it is. I've got a paper in my hand right now. I've got to share this with you because a lot of times people will ask questions and say, yeah, you say that, but is it FDA cleared for what you're talking about? It's more than FDA cleared. As a matter of fact, I've got in my hand a document where it's being used by Baylor College of Medicine, Stanford University School of Medicine, and also by the Hospital of Kuala Lumpur. The director, I think he's the president of the International Wound Healing Federation, Dr. Nair. Now, we've got all the information on this. What happened is they decided to do studies on this technology because it sounded too good to be true. And when things sound too good to be true, usually they are too good to be true. So what happened is that Baylor and Stanford decided to do research on the capacity for wound healing. And wound healing for me is, and if you can heal a wound, you can heal just about anything.
So what's that got to do with FDA clearance, John?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you're starting on FDA clearance, and I think you lost the thread a bit.
Yeah, no, we're FDA cleared for pain management, definitely. And we're also cleared by just about every regular...
Well, sports injuries and wounds, yeah?
Yeah, the whole... Now, it's not... It wasn't cleared for wounds because the FDA is very specific. They say, if you want to say that you're cleared for wounds, we need to have the research.
Oh, okay.
Now
but you know, there's like there's off-label use of drugs. You know, you can have off clearance. If you got one of these devices, someone's broken a leg, you're not going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. The FDA doesn't approve of it." You whip one out and fix it. Let's move on. Raymond is also saying, how long do the sticky pads last? And are there replacements? Yes.
So yeah, there I see between 30 and 40 applications per pair, and you get 2 pairs. I'm not seeing that, they're not very expensive to replace. They're about $4 for a new pack. And you can bulk buy them for even cheaper as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, Jim is saying, I know we might get a question like this. Can he have the scholarship even though he's already bought the Sport Pro? No, you can't, Jim. I'm sorry. You probably got a bonus at the time. So you're not with 2 bonuses. No, I'm sorry. We can't go to that. John, can I use with a pacemaker? Good question. Comes up a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, it's written into all of the nomenclature that we have that if you have a pacemaker, you can't use it. But the thing that I've noticed, for example, that meridians in Chinese medicine, the heart, if you want to stimulate a point for the heart, it isn't over the heart. It's actually on the little finger. Every stimulation point in the body in Chinese medicine is far away from the actual organ itself.
Yeah.
Gallbladder may be down in your foot, in your toe, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So yes, indirectly then. That's a yes, isn't it? Okay, moving on. Carmen, she's got a Genesis machine. That's a sort of little brother. Can that interact with meridians and chakras? Or is it just only Sport Pro? Well, you can use the point probe, can't you, on the acupuncture points, but there are no chakra frequencies in the Genesis yet.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. thought that was the case. All right, Larry wants to know, I'm not giving everybody's full name because there's a bit of privacy here. Can it help carotid arterial plaque caused by inflammation?
Caused by inflammation.
Sometimes you have to work a little bit far away from that area. The plaque could be in the carotid arteries where I've seen the stenosis. We call stenosis of the carotid. There are other things that you have to add to that. And this is where the information that we have becomes very, very, very critical.
I'm not understanding. You mean like nutritional information and things?
Well,
oh no, I've done it again. Oh no.
It's getting late, Keith.
yeah, no, it's on. Oh, the screen's gone blank. I don't even know how to find it now. It's gone totally blank. What the hell has happened?
You did it last time, but
oh, come on. Yeah, I've got to say, folks, I'm fading. Oh, it's 3:30. I've been at it 90. It's 3:30 in the morning, folks. Please be a little bit understanding for poor old Doc. I think I've done well, haven't I, actually? And I'm going to have to develop a new lifestyle while I'm here. I'm going to have to, oh, God forbid, sleep to 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and then get up and start the day's work that runs till 2 or 3 in the night. So I'm sorry, I clicked on that. Now I'd lost the Q&A bits. The Q&A is coming through as we talk, of course. So Heidi wants to know, do people regress? Do you stop treatments when the symptoms improve, or will you lose? In other words, I suppose she's saying, do you have to go on treating for life? No, Heidi, we're talking about a resolution. It's treating for life. It's drugs. They don't fix anything. We're talking about fixing things. So it's gone and doesn't come back. Now, obviously, if it does come back, you have a flare up, you have a bad knee and you suddenly find yourself sore after a long hike, then you whip out the machine and run it again and it will clear it up again. But it's not a continuous therapy like
resolution versus a treatment.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Max wants to know, can it work with fungal issues like candida?
What about the grounding? And that's what we've seen the most. By doing one of our protocols called the grounding protocol, you can balance your pH and get the fungus to go away. So the short answer, which I'm sure is what you're looking for, is yes.
Yes, but tricky. You need to know what you're doing. Then it's not a cinch.
It's a part of
the training. Yeah.
Raymond wants to know, will it heal an abscessed tooth? Yes, I've done that on myself. A lousy sort. And tooth pain and abscesses, they're hell. It's one of the worst pains there is. It drives you nuts. You want to bang your head against the wall. Yeah, 10 minutes of that and it's much better. Max wants to know, can we do some examples of people using this to treat PTSD? I don't know, Max, whether that's appropriate. I mean, we told you, yes, it's highly effective, but I don't think we've got time to run through case histories. We're trying to wrap this up now. Does it work for heart arrhythmia? Depends what kind of arrhythmia.
Yeah, we've seen results from it, but you're right, it does depend what kind.
I mean, AFib, for example, is 95% of that's food allergies. If you stop eating some food or other, it'll stop triggering irregular atrial fibrillation.
Yeah.
Price of the goggles. Heidi wants to know how much are the goggles. He's obviously
the
concerned.
Goggles are.
I've done it again. Yeah, idiot. What am I doing? No,
the goggles are 425. It'll actually offer you the option for them if you're looking at this specific kit, it'll pop up afterwards, so you can just add them in without hunting for them.
Yeah. Okay. Larry. Oh, I think we've done that. Carotid artery plaque and arterial plaque. Somebody here, Matthew's got your current treatment book. And he's, let me read it to you. But I'm trying to widen the box so that I'm missing some words. That's why I end up flipping and killing the slideshow. So anyway, he's got current medicine. He wants to know about frequencies for certain states, for example, 90 hertz or 77 hertz for a sinus problem. What frequency on the Sport Pro would you use?
Sinuses.
Yeah, I use 90 hertz.
90 hertz.
Same frequency. It doesn't matter what you use, does it? It's that the frequency is what's critical. Okay, Matthew, can it help lymphedema?
We
Yes,
have.
it can.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Okay, good. Fibromyalgia, yes. Resounding, yes. Rather OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. You have to be circumspect with that. I think it's a very difficult, very deeply entrenched condition, but I'd certainly try it, wouldn't you?
Definitely. I've seen some people say yes and some people say no. The same thing, the PTSD protocol, the gamma one through the forehead, that seems to be the go-to for that sort of treatment.
Right. Okay. Well, now we've got another question from an anonymous attendee. I presume it's a different anonymous attendee. After the other one was rude to me, I was rude to him, or maybe even to her. Can it be done with monthly free interest payments? Well, I think not. Maybe you'll have to discuss that with a lady later. So go to the shop and ask. But I think it's fair to say you won't get the bonus. The free training with that, the scholarship. That wouldn't. That's asking too much, I think. Okay, so we've done the Q&As. Let me now. Oh God, there's 24 in chat. Oh God.
Dear.
Oh, okay. My good friend Rog was the first name to appear here. Rog, he wants to know, he's got an Avazzia Life. He's treating pain from spinal stenosis, but his scans reveal I've developed scoliosis. Scoliosis is almost a cinch, isn't it, with these devices?
Yeah,
to fix that.
That's what the scoliosis is easier to treat
than the stenosis. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, Roger. Well, yeah, his second name begins with B. A very good friend of mine, and he helps lots of people. So if he can call into you, or I'll forward his email, would you please help him know what to do? I think you've got a video on scoliosis, haven't you?
We have a video.
We do. Yep.
Okay. All right. So Bob is asking what is TENS. Now we explained that, Bob. Look at the recording when it replays. How does it compare to the Rife machine? We answered that. What device is this? Missed the name. It's called an Avazzia Pro III. Excuse me. I presume that's Miller's dust in the old water mill here. Either that or starting COVID. But anyway, still got my sense of smell. I'm just kidding. Optic nerve deterioration. I mean, we talked about eye troubles, and that's usually a nutritional thing. What do you think about optic? Of course, the first thing you do is question the diagnosis. Is this just a baloney diagnosis? Oh, your optic nerve's degenerated. We don't know what to do. It can't be treated. That's common, isn't it?
Yeah.
Difficult to hear, Dr. Hasha. Yes.
We did fix that at the point when I saw that pop up. I moved the microphone closer.
Oh, so you've got these chats, so you can deal with them then, can you? All right. Can it be used on horses? Yes, it's wonderful for animals. And I sent out a wonderful doggy picture, where the doggy's going all chilled while it's being treated. Animals love it. They know it works. The site address on chat. All right.
I added that in already, Keith.
Yeah, on chat. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
I dropped it in chat for everyone.
It's there. It's right underneath. You are correct. You did. Yes, thesanashop.com/KSM. Monthly. That's come up in a panel, in a Q&A and in the chat panel. So how does this compare to the Tenant microcurrent device? Do you want to tackle that, or shall I?
I don't mind doing it.
Device and a lot cheaper, but it's exactly the same. Jerry Tennant private labels it, claims it's his own, and charges a lot more money. I think I can be contentious and say that because it's true. Is the price $1,900 or $4,000? Well, I'm sorry if we didn't. Thea, this is Thea. The $1,995 is the scholarship. It's free, and it's $2,000 worth, a lifetime membership to the training, the videos, the Facebook group, all the good things, as to become a serious professional. The $4,295, was it? That's the cost of the equipment. That's the cost of the equipment. So in fact, you only buy the equipment. You get a free scholarship if you go over there and do it tonight. Okay, now remarkably, I just realized I stuck at it another 10 minutes. Remarkably, we've got to the end. I hope we covered everything. But if not, this is what you do. You reply to my email, which should come from Scott-Mumby Wellness, reply with what you want or your question, and we'll forward it on to John, Rob, and Lorraine, who is well recovered, I understand, but is just sitting it out tonight. But she's on the job as well. So reply to Scott-Mumby Wellness with your question, and we shall forward it to the Hashes. If they want to be, want to reveal their email address, that's up to them. But we'll pass it on for you, and you know my address. It's the address from which I sent the invite for this webinar. Okay, so it just remains to thank you all for being there and sticking it out till the end. The vast majority did. Obviously, a few had to go. We well overshot the hour, and I'm amazed. I amaze myself. I've stayed alert, quite alert, and between 2 o'clock and coming up to 4 o'clock in the morning now. Gosh. Wish me well, guys. Oh, what's the return policy? Now, there is a good question.
That's a good question. Yes, so yeah, yes. And within 30 days after receiving it, so not after you order it, because mail is not reliable, you can return it. You just have to contact us and let us know you want to return it if it's not working for you. And there's a 15% restocking fee once we receive it. And we just have to ask that you return it in the same condition that we sent it in. So don't hit it with a hammer or do anything violent with it, and we'll be good.
Your property, I think.
And yeah.
Yes. Okay, folks. Well, this has been good. Thea, yeah. Rob, I have items in the cart, but the site took me back to the main page with no cart or payment. Come on, you're missing out on Thea's purchase. Get over there and fix it.
All right, Thea, drop me a message and I'll give you a call and we'll take care of it.
Right, now for the rest of us, thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. And thanks to my two experts for having the patience, time and trouble to sweat it out with me. Take care. All right,
go get some sleep, Keith.
I will do. And love to Laurie and say I'm sorry she wasn't well. All right, take care. Bye, everybody.
Take